Hey everyone.
Hello.
Long time no see. Dan, Melanie, Kayla, how you guys been?
It has been a while. We apologize.
Has been a while.
Yes, we are okay. We just needed a little bit of a break. Just some downtime.
Through that.
Breaks are good.
Need a longer break from my job.
Like a permanent one?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Enough time to figure out my mic? I guess so. Hello, Doda. Hello, Doda. Hey, Doda. Thank you for coming for the Doda.
Like she knows we're streaming.
Thank you for coming for the Doda.
Hey Hannah. Yeah, let me know if there's an echo. I feel like it's my mic now that's messed up.
Yeah, let us know if you guys are experiencing any audio issues. It's been a while, so, you know.
If it's not one thing, it's another. Yeah, that's kind of better. I think.
That does tend to be the case, doesn't it? If it's not this, then it is that. Such is life.
So, who's excited for some Malfoy Manor action?
Right? Who is excited for some chapter reading and some deep diving into
He says,
I'm ready to cry again. Maybe. Ugh.
I was gonna say, I'm not excited. I forgot what this chapter was, and well, you didn't remind me. I had to look it up, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't wanna.
So, this chapter was requested by one of our subscribers, and I thought it was a good way to get back in the saddle again and do a chapter read. And the minute they said, "Can you read Malfoy Manor?" I said, "Sure, um, we can do that." And then in the back of my mind, I was like, "Oh God, this one." Not only is it a long one and a lot of stuff happens, but stuff happens.
You should have just said, no, I'm not ready to be hurt again. I would have said.
Listen, I've been hurt like 11 times, 12 times from reading this book. You've been hurt one time. You've heard this.
Once is enough.
Kayla says, off topic, but in American movie theaters, do all chairs lie down and pop up a footrest? My friend told me that.
Pretty much.
Yeah, quite a lot of them do. They're like big reclining chairs, a lot of them. And yeah, you can lay them down and pop up a footrest. It's pretty common.
Like some older small movie theaters, maybe not, but yeah, all the big ones, definitely.
Yeah. None in Australia do that.
Oh no.
All right, food for thought for when we move there.
How do you nap during the boring parts? Some of them are that comfy.
That's kind of the problem, though. Some of them are so comfortable that you could kind of fall asleep, which is nice that you're comfortable, but like you're there to see a movie. I'd be pissed if I fell asleep. No, not all theaters do it, but like a lot of the big chains and stuff, quite a few of them do.
Like Regal and AMC.
Mm-hmm.
It's like big chains. I haven't gotten to one of those that don't have that yet.
airplane economy seating in Australia. That's what your movie theater experience is like. I mean, that's what it used to be like.
I'm gonna say, like, our little local theater, that's how it is.
Yeah, that's how, like, some theaters are. Some are still like that, but, like, the big chains have the big reclining things and whatnot. Oh my god, look at you. Tooth is sticking out now.
You came here to watch a movie, not be comfy.
You see her little tooth?
Stay awake. The old uncomfortable seats I found at oh god. In Jimmy Neutron? Oh no. Why in Jimmy
Why
Neutron?
in Jimmy Neutron?
That makes it worse.
Look it.
Numb butt chairs, yeah.
Look it.
Oh yeah. I have heard some horror stories from people who worked in movie theaters. Some of the things they find.
Yeah. The fact that it was in Jimmy Neutron, though, is very concerning. That's awful.
Finding a Jimmy and Jimmy.
I mean, it'd be one thing if you were like, okay, I found it at a
50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades showing. Like, okay, people are gross, but at least, like, all right, whatever. Jimmy Neutron? That's very uncomfortable. Lola, are
Probably
you?
because there were few, if anyone else. Ah, see, it was empty. That's why.
Okay.
Privacy.
Makes sense now.
Smart move. Boy, if only there was some other place you could get privacy.
Yeah, right?
Besides empty movie theaters. Another teen movie. Oh, God. Or Jay and Silent Bob. That won't. All right. Up for the
Lola, are you ready to get hurt again?
She's my emotional support animal during this chapter. That's why she's here.
Sorry, I got hair on me. Well, let's just see what happens. No guarantees that I'm not gonna cry. Just saying.
No, Dan. I'll take those stories over Dobby.
Here we go.
Trust me.
Are we ready? Everyone, feel free to pipe in when you think of something or you want to discuss something. Let's do it. Are we all ready? Ready?
Oh, I thought that was a rhetorical.
No, are we ready? Okay. Chapter 23. Malfoy Manor. Harry looked round at the other two, now mere outlines in the darkness. He saw Hermione point her wand, not toward the outside, but into his face. There was a bang, a burst of white light, and he buckled in agony, unable to see. He could feel his face swelling rapidly under his hands as heavy footfalls surrounded him. "Get up, vermin!" Unknown hands dragged Harry roughly off the ground. Before he could stop them, someone had rummaged through his pockets and removed the blackthorn wand. Harry clutched at his excruciatingly painful face, which felt unrecognizable beneath his fingers, tight, swollen and puffy, as though he'd suffered some violent allergic reaction. His eyes had been reduced to slits through which he could barely see. His glasses fell off as he was bundled out of the tent. All he could make out were the blurred shapes of 4 or 5 people, wrestling Ron and Hermione outside too. "Get off her!" Ron shouted. There was the unmistakable sound of knuckles hitting flesh. Ron grunted in pain and Hermione screamed, "No! Leave him alone! Leave him alone!" "Your boyfriend's going to have worse than that done to him if he's on my list," said the horribly familiar rasping voice. "Delicious girl. What a treat. I do enjoy the softness of the skin." Harry's stomach turned over. He knew who this was. Fenrir Greyback, the werewolf who was permitted to wear Death Eater robes in return for his hired savagery. "Search the tent," said another voice. Harry was thrown face down onto the ground. A thud told him that Ron had been cast down beside him. They could hear footsteps and crashes. The men were pushing over chairs inside the tent as they searched. "Now, let's see who we've got," said Greyback's gloating voice from overhead, and Harry was rolled onto his back. A beam of wand light fell into his face, and Greyback laughed. "I'll be needing butterbeer to wash this one down. What happened to you, ugly?" Harry did not answer immediately. "I said," repeated Greyback, and Harry received a blow to the diaphragm that made him double over in pain. "What happened to you?" "Stung," Harry muttered. "Been stung?" "Yeah, looks like it," said a second voice. "What's your name?" snarled Greyback. "Dudley," said Harry. "And your first name?" Vernon. Vernon Dudley." "Check the list, Scabior," said Greyback, and Harry heard him move sideways to look down at Ron instead. "And what about you, Ginger?" "Stan Shonpike," said Ron. "Like hell you are," said the man called Scabior. "We know Stan Shonpike. He's put in a bigger... Sorry. He's put a bit of work our way." There was another thud. "I'm Bardi," said Ron, and Harry could tell his mouth was full of blood. "Bardi Weasley." "A Weasley?" rasped Greyback. "So you're related to the blood traitors even if you're not a mudblood. And lastly, your pretty little friend." The relish in his voice made Harry's flesh crawl. "Easy, Greyback," said Scabior over the jeering of the others. "Oh, I'm not going to bite just yet. We'll see if she's a bit quicker at remembering her name than Barney. Who are you, girlie?" "Penelope Clearwater," said Hermione. She sounded terrified but convincing. "What's your blood status?" "Half-blood," said Hermione. "Easy enough to check," said Scabior. But the whole lot of them look like they could still be Hogwarts age." "We lebbed," said Ron. "Left, have you, Ginger?" said Scabior. "And you decided to go camping? And you thought, just for a laugh, you'd use the Dark Lord's name?" "Not a laugh," said Ron. "Accident." "Accident?" There was more jeering laughter. "You know who liked to use the Dark Lord's name, Weasley?" growled Greyback. "The Order of
Wait,
the...
hold on.
Where did what go?
I don't know. This
Pinwheel... Oh.
buffering, but we're still fine on our end. Hasn't fit.
Okay. I will wait. I don't know where we left off,
No, we might have to.
just because...
Yeah. Because I don't know what's going on now because it's not even.
Your screen went down for half a sec. Are we back then? Let us know when you can see us again,
Yeah,
guys.
let us know if we're back. All good? All good? Okay. Yeah, I think we might start doing these live streams over on the Twitch and then just uploading them to the YouTube because
This seems to be an ongoing problem.
yeah, I don't know what it is because like on our end this time it was fine.
All
That
right.
might just be because I was leaning back, that my mic was fading in and out.
Also, KJK, good to see you. It's nice that you caught a stream. I guess I can go back a little bit.
Okay.
Just because.
Yeah. What Dan said, Greyback calling someone else ugly.
Yeah, right?
Irony.
Ho-ho. Not a lob, said Ron. Accident. Accident? There was more jeering laughter. You know we like to use the Dark Lord's name, Weasley. Oh. You know who used to like using the Dark Lord's name, Weasley, growled Greyback. The Order of the Phoenix. Mean anything to you? No. Well, they don't show the Dark Lord proper respect, so the name's been tabooed. A few Order members have been tracked that way. We'll see. Bind them up with the other 2 prisoners. Someone yanked Harry up by the hair, dragged him a short way, pushed him down into a sitting position, then started binding him back to back with other people. Harry was still half blind, barely able to see anything through puffed-up eyes. When at last the man tying them had walked away, Harry whispered to the other prisoners. Anyone still got a wand? No, said Ron and Hermione from either side of him. This is all my fault. I said the name. I'm sorry. Harry? It was a new but familiar voice, and it came from directly behind Harry, from the person tied to Hermione's left. Dean? It is you! If they find out who they've got, they're snatchers. They're only looking for truants to sell for gold. Not a bad little haul for one night, Greyback was saying as a pair of hobnailed boots marched close by Harry, and they heard more crashes from inside the tent. A mudblood, a runaway goblin, and 3 truants. You checked their names on the list yet, Scabier? Yeah, there's no Vernon Dudley on here, Greyback. Interesting, said Greyback. That's interesting. He crouched down beside Harry, who saw, through the infinitesimal gap between his swollen eyelids, a face covered in matted grey hair and whiskers, with pointed brown teeth and sores at the corners of his mouth. Ew! Greyback smelled as he had done at the top of the tower where Dumbledore had died, of dirt, sweat, and blood. So you aren't wanted then, Vernon? Or are you on that list under a different name? What house were you in at Hogwarts? Slytherin, said Harry automatically. Funny how they all thinks we want to hear that, jabbed Scabier out of the shadows. But none of them can tell us what a common room is. It's in the dungeons, said Harry clearly. You enter through the wall. It's full of skulls and stuff, and it's under the lake, so the light's all green. There was a short pause. Well, looks like we have got a little Slytherin, said Scabior. Good for you, Vernon, 'cause there ain't a lot of mudblood Slytherins. Who's your father? He works at the Ministry, Harry lied. He knew that his whole story would collapse with the smallest investigation, but on the other hand, he only had until his face regained its usual appearance before the game was up in any case. Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes. You know what, Greyback? Said Scabior. I think there is a Dudley in there. Harry could barely breathe.
These guys are idiots.
Could luck, sheer luck, get them safely out of this? Well, said Greyback, and Harry could hear the tiniest note of trepidation in that callous voice, and knew that Greyback was wondering whether or not he had just indeed attacked and bound the son of a ministry official. Harry's heart was pounding against the ropes around his ribs. He would not have been surprised to know that Greyback could see it. If you're telling the truth, Ugly, you've got nothing to fear from a trip to the Ministry. I expect your father will reward us for picking you up. But, said Harry, his mouth bone dry, if you just let us... Hey! Came a shout from inside the tent. Look at this, Greyback! A dark figure came bustling toward them, and Harry saw a glint of silver in the light of their wands. They had found Gryffindor's sword. Very nice, said Greyback appreciatively, taking it from his companion. Oh, very nice indeed. Looks goblin-made, that. Where'd you get something like this? It's my father's, Harry lied, hoping against hope that it was too dark for Greyback to see the name etched just below the hilt. We borrowed it to cut firewood. Hang on a minute, Greyback. Look at this, in the prophet. As Scabious said it, Harry's scar, which was stretched tight across his distended forehead, burned savagely. More clearly than he could make out anything around him, he saw a towering building, a grim fortress, jet black and forbidding. Voldemort's thoughts had suddenly become razor sharp again. He was gliding toward the gigantic building with a sense of calmly euphoric purpose. So close. So close. With a huge effort of will, Harry closed his mind to Voldemort's thoughts, pulling himself back to where he sat, tied to Ron, Hermione, Dean, and Griphook in the darkness, listening to Greyback and Scabior. Hermione Granger, Scabior was saying, the mudblood who is known to be travelling with Harry Potter. Harry's scar burned in the silence, but he made a supreme effort to keep himself present, not to slip into Voldemort's mind. He heard the creak of Greyback's boots as he crouched down in front of Hermione. You know what, girlie? This picture looks a hell of a lot like you. It isn't me! Hermione's terrified squeak was as good as a confession. Known to be travelling with Harry Potter, repeated Greyback quietly. A stillness had settled over the scene. Harry's scar was exquisitely painful, but he struggled with all his strength against the pull of Voldemort's thoughts. It had never been so important to remain in his own mind. Well, this changes things, doesn't it? Whispered Greyback. Nobody spoke. Harry sensed the gang of Snatchers watching, frozen, and felt Hermione's arm trembling against his. Greyback got up and took a couple of steps where Harry sat, crouching down again to stare closely at his misshapen features. What's on your forehead, Vernon? He asked softly, his breath foul in Harry's nostrils as he pressed a filthy finger to the taut scar. Don't touch it! Harry yelled. He couldn't stop himself. He thought he might be sick from the pain of it. I thought you wore glasses, Potter, breathed Greyback. I found glasses, yelped one of the Snatchers, skulking in the background. There were glasses in the tent, Greyback. Wait! And seconds later, Harry's glasses had been rammed back onto his face. The Snatchers were closing in now, peering at him. It is, rasped Greyback. We've caught Potter! They all took several steps backwards, stunned by what they had done. Harry, still fighting to remain present inside his own splitting head, could think of nothing to say. Fragmented visions were breaking across the surface of his mind. He was gliding around the high walls of the Black Fortress. No, he was Harry, tied up and wandless, in grave danger. Looking up to the topmost window, the highest tower. He was Harry, and they were discussing his fate in low voices. Time to fly. To the Ministry? To hell with the Ministry, growled Greyback. They'll take the credit and we won't get a look in. I say we take him straight to you-know-who. Will you summon him? Here? Said Scabior, sounding awed, terrified. No, snarled Greyback. I haven't got... They say he's using the Malfoy's place as a base. We'll take that boy there. Harry thought he knew why Greyback was not calling Voldemort. The werewolf might be allowed to wear Death Eater robes when they wanted to use him, but only Voldemort's inner circle were branded with the Dark Mark. Greyback had not been granted this highest honor.
You know, if hired lackeys half a break, he might actually have won. You know, and if he did monologue.
Well, people smart enough will not buy into Voldemort's rhetoric. So
I guess so. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Lucius was kind of smart.
yeah,
Doesn't
Lucius
seem
isn't
like
an
an
idiot.
idiot.
No, he's not an idiot.
And
That's
yeah,
true.
Jackson. I don't know if you saw that.
I
but yeah,
did. I
you
saw it out of the...
just,
yeah.
swap spit with Jackson.
Yeah, it's fine. Harry's scar seared again, and he rose into the night, flying straight up to the window at the very top of the tower. Completely sure it's him, 'cause if it ain't Greyback, we're dead. Who's in charge here? Roared Greyback, covering his moment of inadequacy. I say that's Potter, and him plus his wand, that's 200,000 galleons right there. But if you're too gutless to come along, any of you, it's all for me, and with any luck, I'll get the girl thrown in. The window was the merest slit in the black rock, not big enough for a man to enter. A skeletal figure was just visible through it, curled beneath a blanket. Dead. Or sleeping? All right, said Scabior. All right, we're in. What about the rest of them, Greyback? What'll we do with them? Might as well take the lot. We've got 2 mudbloods, that's another 10 galleons. Give me the sword as well. If they're rubies, there's another small fortune right there. The prisoners were dragged to their feet. Harry could hear Hermione's breathing, fast and terrified. Grab a hold and make it tight. I'll do Potter, said Greyback, seizing a fistful of Harry's hair. Harry could feel his long yellow nails scratching his scalp. On 3. 1, 2, 3. They disapparated, pulling the prisoners with them. Harry struggled, trying to throw off Greyback's hand, but it was hopeless. Ron and Hermione were squeezed tightly against him on either side. He could not separate from the group, and as the breath was squeezed out of him, his scar seared more painfully still as he forced himself through the slit of a window like a snake and landed, lightly as vapor, inside the cell-like room. The prisoners lurched into one another as they landed on a country lane. Harry's eyes, still puffy, took a moment to acclimatize. Then he saw a pair of wrought iron gates at the foot of what looked like a long drive. He experienced the tiniest trickle of relief. The worst had not happened yet. Voldemort was not here. He was, Harry knew, for he was fighting to resist the vision in some strange fortress-like place at the top of a tower. How long it would take Voldemort to get to this place once he knew Harry was here was another matter. One of the Snatchers strode to the gates and shook them. How do we get in? They're locked, Greyback. I can't... Blimey! Is you thirsty, Doda? Is you thirsty, Doda?
Yeah, you're just sharing it with everyone tonight.
Doda. It is a sweet Doda. Is it a sweet Doda?
You're going to have to bring in decoy water from now on.
I know, apparently. He whipped his hands away in fright. The iron was contorting, twisting itself out of the abstract furls and coils into a frightening face, which spoke in a clanging, echoing voice. State your purpose! We've got Potter! Greyback roared triumphantly. We've captured Harry Potter! The gates swung open. Come on! Said Greyback to his men, and the prisoners were shunted through the gates and up the drive, between high hedges that muffled their footsteps. Harry saw a ghostly white shape above him, and realized it was an albino peacock. He stumbled and was dragged onto his feet by Greyback. Now he was staggering along sideways, tied back to the 4 other prisoners. Closing his puffy eyes, he allowed the pain in his scar to overcome him for a moment, wanting to know what Voldemort was doing, whether he knew yet that Harry was caught. The emaciated figure stirred beneath its thin blanket and rolled over toward him, eyes opening in a skull of a face. The frail man sat up, great sunken eyes fixed upon him, upon Voldemort, and then he smiled. Most of his teeth were gone. So you have come. I thought you would. One day. But your journey was pointless. I never had it. You lie! As Voldemort's anger throbbed inside him, Harry's scar threatened to burst with pain, and he wrenched his mind back to his own body, fighting to remain present as the prisoners were pushed over gravel. Light spilled out over all of them. What is this? Said a woman's cold voice. "We're here to see he who must not be named," rasped Greyback. "Who are you?" "You know me." There was resentment in the werewolf's voice. "Fenrir Greyback. We've caught Harry Potter." Greyback seized Harry and dragged him round to face the light, forcing the other prisoners to shuffle round too. "I know he's swollen, ma'am, but it's him," piped up Scabbia. "If you look a bit closer, you see his scar. And this girl, this the mudblood that been travelling round with him, ma'am. There's no doubt it's him, and we've got his wand as well. Here, ma'am." Through his puffy eyelids, Harry saw Narcissa Malfoy scrutinizing his swollen face. Scabbia thrust the blackthorn wand at her. She raised her eyebrows. "Bring them in," she said. Harry and the others were shoved and kicked up broad steps into a hallway lined with portraits. "Follow me," said Narcissa, leading the way across the hall. "My son, Draco, is home for his Easter holidays. If that is Harry Potter, he will know." The drawing room dazzled after the darkness outside. Even with his eyes almost closed, Harry could make out the wide proportions of the room. A crystal chandelier hung from the ceiling, more portraits along dark purple walls. Two figures.
How do you know Malfoy will know, though? That Draco will know. I mean, it's not like he's best friends with Harry at any point. He just sees him at school every now and then.
But he sees him enough. He plays Quidditch with him. They have classes together.
I mean, I guess, but still. I mean, there were plenty of kids that I had classes with and I saw on a regular basis, but I didn't pay enough attention
But
that I would.
he's Harry freaking Potter.
I guess.
He'd know.
But he's a disfigured Harry.
Well, yeah. He does. He knows his enemy.
Just greeting them at the gate, not Bellatrix. Bellatrix can't be bothered.
Well, it's also Narcissa's house.
Yeah, but, well, I mean, technically right now I think it's Voldemort's house.
Okay, that's true.
They're enemies. He knows his enemy. I mean, I guess.
Also, while we're paused, love the fact that the peacock was described as ghostly white. Lots of death references, ghost references. That's just one of them.
Yeah.
Just pointing it out. Throwing it out there. Ghostly white.
I never really got that. I just thought it's just kind of a thing. If you own a manor, you have a bunch of white stuff. Because lean looking, white draperies and everything.
Also that, I guess, the Malfoys are kind of not at full potential right now. They're kind of subdued and not really doing the greatest at this particular moment in time.
No.
They're not full plumage peacocks. They're kind of
Got their
pale,
tail feathers tucked between their
hiding
legs.
peacocks. No color. Two figures rose from the chairs in front of an ornate marble fireplace as the prisoners were forced into the room by the snatchers. "What is this?" The dreadfully familiar, drawling voice of Lucius Malfoy fell on Harry's ears. He was panicking now. He could see no way out, and it was easier, as his fear mounted, to block out Voldemort's thoughts, though his scar was still burning. "They say they've got Potter," said Narcissa's cold voice. "Draco, come here." Harry did not dare look directly at Draco, but saw him obliquely. A figure slightly taller than he was, rising from an armchair, his face pale, a pale and pointed blur beneath white blonde hair. Greyback forced the prisoners to turn again so as to place Harry directly beneath the chandelier. "Well?" rasped the werewolf. Harry was facing a mirror over the fireplace, a great gilded thing in an intricately scrolled frame. Through the slits of his eyes, he saw his own reflection for the first time since leaving Grimmauld Place. His face was huge, shiny, and pink, every feature distorted by Hermione's jinx. His black hair reached his shoulders, and there was a dark shadow around his jaw. He had not known that it was he. Had he not known that it was he who stood there, he would have wondered who was wearing his glasses. He resolved not to speak, for his voice was sure to give him away. Yet still he avoided eye contact with Draco as the latter approached. "Well, Draco," said Lucius Malfoy. He sounded avid. Is it Harry Potter?" I can't be sure," said Draco. He was keeping his distance from Greyback, and seemed as scared of looking at Harry as Harry was of looking at him. "But look at him carefully. Look! Come closer!" Harry had never heard Lucius Malfoy so excited. "Draco, if we are the ones who hand Potter over to the Dark Lord, everything will be forgiven." "Now we won't be forgetting who actually caught him, I hope, Mr. Malfoy," said Greyback menacingly. Of course not, said Lucius impatiently. He approached Harry himself, came so close that Harry could see the usually languid pale face in sharp detail, even through his swollen eyes. With his face a puffy mask, Harry felt as though he were peering out from between the bars of a cage. "What did you do to him?" Lucius asked Greyback. "How did he get into this state?" "That wasn't us." "Looks more like a stinging jinx to me," said Lucius. His grey eyes raked Harry's forehead. "There's something there," he whispered. "It could be a scar, stretched tight. Draco, come here. Look properly. What do you think?" Harry saw Draco's face up close now, right beside his father's. They were extraordinarily alike, except that while his father looked beside himself with excitement, Draco's expression was full of reluctance, even fear. "I don't know," he said, and he walked away toward the fireplace where his mother stood watching. "We had better be certain, Lucius," Narcissa called to her husband in her cold, clear voice. "Completely sure that it is Potter, before we summon the Dark Lord. They say this is his—" She was looking closely at the blackthorn wand. "But it does not resemble Ollivander's description. If we are mistaken, if we call the Dark Lord here for nothing, remember what he did to Raoul and Dolohov?" "What about the mudblood, then?" growled Greyback. Harry was nearly thrown off his feet as the Snatchers forced the prisoners to swivel round again, so that the light fell on Hermione instead. "Wait!" said Narcissa sharply. Yes, she was in Madame Malkin's with Potter. I saw her picture in the Prophet. Look, Draco, isn't that the Granger girl?" Maybe. Yeah. "But then that's the Weasley boy!" shouted Lucius, striding around the bound prisoners to face Ron. "It's them! Potter's friends! Draco, look at him! Isn't that Arthur Weasley's son? What's his name?" "Yeah," said Draco again, his back to the prisoners. "It could be." The drawing-room door opened behind Harry. A woman spoke, and the sound of the voice wound Harry's fear to an even higher pitch. "What is this? What's happened, sissy?" Bellatrix Lestrange walked slowly round the prisoners and stopped on Harry's right, staring at Hermione through her heavily lidded eyes. "But surely," she said quietly, "this is the Mudblood girl? This is Granger?" Yes, it's Granger," cried Lucius. "And beside her we think Potter and his friends, caught at last." "Potter?" shrieked Bellatrix, and she backed away, the better to take in Harry. "Are you sure? Well, then the Dark Lord must be informed at once." She dragged back her left sleeve. Harry saw the dark mark burned into the flesh of her arm, and knew that she was about to touch it, to summon her beloved master. "I was about to call him," said Lucius, and his hand actually closed upon Bellatrix's wrist, preventing her from touching the mark. "I shall summon him, Bella. Potter has been brought to my house, and it is therefore upon my authority—" "Your authority?" she sneered, attempting to wrench her hand from his grasp. You lost your authority when you lost your wand! Lucius, how dare you? Take your hands off me! This has nothing to do with you. You did not capture the boy. Begging your pardon, Mr. Malfoy, interjected Greyback. But it's us who caught Potter, and it's us that'll be claiming the gold. Gold? Laughed Bellatrix, still attempting to throw off her brother-in-law, her free hand groping in her pocket for her wand. Take your gold, filthy scavenger! What do I want with gold? I seek only the honor of... She stopped struggling, her dark eyes fixed upon something Harry could not see. Jubilant at her capitulation, Lucius threw her hand from him and ripped up his own sleeve. Stop! Shrieked Bellatrix. Do not touch it! We shall all perish if the Dark Lord comes now! Lucius froze, his index finger hovering over his own mark. Bellatrix strode out of Harry's limited line of vision. What is that? He heard her say. Sword, grunted an out-of-sight snatcher. Give it to me. It ain't yourn, missus. It's mine. I reckon I found it. There was a bang and a flash of red light. Harry knew that the snatcher had been stunned. There was a roar of anger from his fellows. Scabbia drew his wand. What you think you're playing at, woman? Stupefy! She screamed. Stupefy! They were no match for her, even though there were 4 of them against 1 of her. She was a witch, as Harry knew, with prodigious skill and no conscience. They fell where they stood, all except Greyback, who'd been forced into a kneeling position, his arms outstretched. Out of the corners of his eyes, Harry saw Bellatrix bearing down upon the werewolf, the sword of Gryffindor gripped tightly in her hand, her face waxen. Where did you get this sword? She whispered to Greyback as she pulled his wand out from his unresisting grip. How dare you? He snarled, his mouth the only thing he could move as he was forced to gaze up at her.
You know, real quick, I have a question. Isn't Bellatrix like a very good legilimens? Because she was teaching
Draco occlumency.
Yeah. So why didn't she use occlumency on Harry?
Legilimency?
Or legilimate? I can't remember which. I know they like coincide. One's prevent you from reading the person's mind, but
maybe she's not good
either
at
way.
legilimency. Maybe she's only good at occlumency.
I feel like if you're good at one, you could probably do the other. Probably better at one, but
maybe she's not a good legilimens. Maybe
definitely try. That's for sure.
But I mean, maybe she's not good at it.
Maybe. I'm sure the film moment, Harry looking into Draco's eyes, imploring him to do the right thing. Yeah, I think that just has to do with it's harder to convey things in the movies. So that's a way to kind of convey the whole interaction that they're having.
Also,
Draco's conflict.
This whole thing with Draco very much reminds me of Peter denying Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
It's very much got that vibe. That is exactly what it is.
Draco was written to be a character you don't like, but he's one of the characters that has my heart in a chokehold. Yeah. Draco definitely redeems himself over the course of the story.
I think Half-Blood Prince was when he really started to kind of figure out, like, this is not what I want.
Yeah, and it's not until Deathly Hallows they actually, like, does some stuff to, like, redeem himself.
Oh, yeah, because the whole thing with Dumbledore happens, and then he gets whisked away, and who knows what happens between that time and when we see Draco again. He watches Charity Burbage get eaten by Nagini at the very beginning of the book. Like, kid's been through it.
Yeah. Decided the snake life isn't for him.
He's not feeling that Voldy life.
Wait, Harry's figured out how to block anyone opening his mind but Voldy? That's only due to the Horcrux? Did he? Am I forgetting that part? Did he ever learn? I thought he just, like, kind of failed at that. blocking people from his mind.
He doesn't have anyone else trying to enter his mind except Voldy. So, we really don't have a...
I mean, with Snape just kind of gave up.
It
and
was
they
a...
never finished.
Yeah, they didn't. Well, because Harry broke the rules. Big time.
Yeah. Snape should have done a better job of blocking people from going into his memories, I guess.
He left the room! Trusted Harry not to, like...
That was his first mistake. He trusted Harry.
Yeah, Harry is too nosy. Yeah, I don't know, Melanie. That's how it's always read to me, is when Draco is, like, denying that... It's always struck me as Peter denying Jesus, like, every time I've read it. That's how it always read to me, is Draco doesn't want to give him away, and he's feeling the pressure, and he's just, like, denying it. That's how it... That's how it felt. Anyway.
Wonder how long it took Snape to kick Harry out of his mind in real time. Oh, out of his memory? Yeah, that's a good question. Like, how much time passes in the memory? Is it kind of like when you're dreaming and the dream feels like it's going on forever, but you only slept for like an hour?
That's a good question. I don't know. Do you ever see that cartoon? I feel like I sent it to you, where Snape, like, knocks on the door and he opens it, and it's Harry and Dumbledore just face in there.
No.
And Snape is just like, I'll come back later. And you just see
I
the
didn't
both of
see
them
that.
in there, and it's like, bloop, bloop.
Well, I mean, does like time distort?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Uh,
Oh, hey, Ren, how you been?
Ren, welcome.
Hopefully work's going well, though.
He bared his pointed teeth. Release me, woman. Where did you find this sword? She repeated, brandishing it in his face. Snape sent it to my vault in Gringotts. It was in their tent, rasped Greyback. Release me, I say. She waved her wand, and the werewolf sprang to his feet, but appeared too wary to approach her. He prowled behind an armchair, his filthy curved nails clutching its back. Pedophile. 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 Draco, move this scum outside, said Bellatrix, indicating the unconscious men. If you haven't got the guts to finish them, then leave them in the courtyard for me. Don't you dare speak to Draco like... said Narcissa furiously, but Bellatrix screamed. Be quiet! The situation is graver than you could possibly imagine, sissy. We have a very serious problem. She stood, panting slightly, looking down at the sword, examining its hilt. Then she turned to look at the silent prisoners. If it is indeed Potter, he must not be harmed, she muttered, more to herself than to the others. The Dark Lord wishes to dispose of Potter himself, but if he finds out, I must know. She turned back to her sister again. The prisoners must be placed in the cellar while I think what to do. This is my house, Bella. You don't give orders in my... Do it! You have no idea of the danger we are in, shrieked Bellatrix. She looked frightening, mad. A thin stream of fire issued from her wand and burned a hole in the carpet. Narcissa hesitated for a moment, then addressed the werewolf. Take these prisoners down to the cellar, Greyback. Wait, said Bellatrix sharply. All except for the mudblood. Greyback gave a grunt of pleasure. No! Shouted Ron. You can have me! Keep me! Bellatrix hit him across the face. The blow echoed round the room. If she dies under questioning, I'll take you next, she said. Blood traitor is next to mudblood in my book. Take them downstairs, Greyback, and make sure they are secure, but do nothing more to them. Yet. She threw Greyback's wand back to him, then took a short silver knife from under her robes. She cut Hermione free from the other prisoners, then dragged her by the hair into the middle of the room, while Greyback forced the rest of them to shuffle across to another door, into a dark passageway, his wand held out in front of him, projecting an invisible and irresistible force. Reckon she'll let me have a bit of the girl after she's finished with her? Greyback crooned as he forced them along the corridor. "I'd say I'd get a bite or two, wouldn't you, Ginger?" Harry could feel Ron shaking. They were forced down a steep flight of stairs, still tied back to back and in danger of slipping and breaking their necks at any moment. At the bottom was a heavy door. Greyback unlocked it with a tap of his wand, then forced them into a dank and musty room and left them in total darkness. The echoing bang of the slam cellar door had not died away before there was a terrible, drawn-out scream from directly above them. "Hermione!" Ron bellowed, and he started to writhe and struggle against the ropes, tying them together, so Harry staggered. "Hermione!" "Be quiet," Harry said. "Shut up, Ron. We need to work out a—" "Hermione! Hermione! We need a plan. Stop yelling. We need to get these ropes off." "Harry?" came a whisper through the darkness. "Ron? Is that you?" Ron stopped shouting. There was a sound of movement close by them. Then Harry saw a shadow moving closer. "Harry? Ron? Luna?" "Yes, it's me. Oh no, I didn't want you to be caught." "Luna, can you help us get these ropes off?" said Harry. "Oh yes, I expect so. There's an old nail we use if we need to break anything. Just a moment." Hermione screamed again from overhead, and they could hear Bellatrix screaming too, but her words were inaudible, for Ron shouted again. "Hermione! Hermione!" "Mr. Ollivander," Harry could hear Luna saying. "Mr. Ollivander, have you got the nail? If you just move over a little bit. I think it was beside the water jug." She was back within seconds. "You need to stay still," she said. Harry could feel her digging at the rope's tough fibers to work the knots free. From upstairs they heard Bellatrix's voice. "I'm going to ask you again. Where did you get this sword? Where?" "We found it! We found it, please!" Hermione screamed again. Ron struggled harder than ever, and the rusty nail slipped onto Harry's wrist. "Ron, please stay still," Luna whispered. "I can't see what I'm doing." "My pocket," said Ron. "In my pocket, there's a deluminator, and it's full of light." A few seconds later, there was a click, and the luminescent spheres the deluminator had sucked from the lamps in the tent flew into the cellar. Unable to rejoin their sources, they simply hung there, like tiny suns, flooding the underground room with light. Harry saw Luna, all eyes in her white face, and the motionless figure of Ollivander the Wandmaker, curled up on the floor in the corner. Craning round, he caught sight of their fellow prisoners. Dean and Griphook the Goblin, who seemed barely conscious, kept standing by the ropes that bound them to the humans. "Oh, that's much easier. Thanks, Ron," said Luna, and she began hacking at their bindings again. "Hello, Dean." From above came Bellatrix's voice. "You are lying, filthy mudblood, and I know it. You have been inside my vault at Gringotts. Tell me the truth. Tell the truth." Another terrible scream. "Hermione!" "What else did you take? What else have you got? Tell me the truth, or I swear I shall run you through with this knife." "There!" Harry felt the ropes fall away and turned, rubbing his wrists, to see Ron running round the cellar, looking up at the low ceiling, searching for a trap door. Nice callback to book 1 there.
Oh, the trapdoor.
Yeah.
The rusty nail ends. Harry dies because of tetanus.
Dean, his face bruised and bloody, said thanks to Luna and stood there, shivering. But Griphook sank onto the cellar floor, looking groggy and disoriented, many welts across his swarthy face. Ron was now trying to disapparate without a wand. "There's no way out, Ron," said Luna, watching his fruitless efforts. "The cellar is completely escape-proof. I tried at first. Mr. Ollivander has been here for a long time. He's tried everything." Hermione was screaming again. The sound went through Harry like physical pain. Barely conscious of the fierce prickling of his scar, he too started to run round the cellar, feeling the walls for what he hardly knew what, knowing in his heart that it was useless.
I love how it's just like, oh, Luna couldn't get out? Well, no way we could get out then.
I mean, Mr. Ollivander couldn't get out. I think that's a pretty good indication.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a amazing wand maker, but how good of a puzzle solver, escape artist, or even just wizard is he?
Fair enough.
He's not Dumbledore after all.
What else did you take? What else? Answer me! Crucio! Hermione's screams echoed off the walls upstairs. Ron was half sobbing as he pounded the walls with his fists, and Harry, in utter desperation, seized Hagrid's pouch from around his neck and groped around inside it. He pulled out Dumbledore's snitch and shook it, hoping for what he didn't know what. Nothing happened. He waved the broken halves of the Phoenix wand, but they were lifeless. The mirror fragment fell sparkling to the floor, and he saw a gleam of brightest blue. Dumbledore's eye was gazing at him out of the mirror. "Help us!" he yelled at it in mad desperation. "We are in the cellar at Malfoy Manor! Help us!" The eye blinked and was gone. Harry was not even sure he'd really been there. He tilted the shard of mirror this way and that and saw nothing reflected there but the walls and ceiling of their prison. And upstairs Hermione was screaming worse than ever, and next to him Ron was bellowing, "Hermione! Hermione!" "How did you get into my vault?" they heard Bellatrix scream. "Did that dirty little goblin in the cellar help you?" "We only met him tonight," Hermione sobbed. "We've never been inside your vault. It isn't the real sword. It's a copy. Just a copy." "A copy?" screeched Bellatrix. "Oh, a likely story." "But we can find out easily," came Lucius's voice. "Draco, fetch the goblin. He can tell us whether the sword is real or not." Harry dashed across the cellar to where Griphook was huddled on the floor. "Griphook," he whispered into the goblin's pointed ear. "You must tell them the sword's a fake. They mustn't know it's the real one. Griphook, please." He could hear someone scuttling down the cellar steps. Next moment, Draco's shaking voice spoke from behind the door. "Stand back. Line up against the back wall. Don't try anything, or I'll kill you." They did as they were bidden. As the lock turned, Ron clicked the deluminator and the lights whisked back into his pocket, restoring the cellar's darkness. The door flew open. Malfoy marched inside, wand held out in front of him, pale and determined. He seized the little goblin by the arm and backed out again, dragging Griphook with him. The door slammed shut, and at the same moment a loud crack echoed inside the cellar.
I would go with coffee, Dan. That you're gonna need the energy after all the sobbing.
Ron clicked the deluminator. 3 balls of light flew back into the air from his pocket, revealing Dobby the house elf, who had just apparated into their midst. "Dob!" Harry hit Ron on the arm to stop him shouting, and Ron looked terrified at his mistake. Footsteps crossed the ceiling overhead, Draco marching Griphook to Bellatrix. Darby's enormous tennis ball eyes... Dobby's enormous tennis ball-shaped eyes were wide. He was trembling from his feet to the tips of his ears. He was back in the home of his old masters, and it was clear that he was petrified. "Harry Potter!" he squeaked in the tiniest quiver of a voice. I'm going to lose it already. "Dobby has come to rescue you."
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Can't take it. "But how did you..." An awful scream drowned Harry's words. Hermione was being tortured again. He cut to the essentials. "You can disapparate out of this cellar?" he asked Dobby, who nodded, his ears flapping. "And you can take humans with you?" Dobby nodded again. "Right. Dobby, I want you to grab Luna, Dean, and Mr. Ollivander and take them to..." "Bill and Fleur's," said Ron. "Shell Cottage on the outskirts of Tinworth." The elf nodded for a third time. "And then come back," said Harry. "Can you do that, Dobby?" "Of course, Harry Potter," whispered the little elf. He hurried over to Mr. Ollivander, who appeared to be barely conscious. He took one of the wand maker's hands in his own, then held out the other to Luna and Dean, neither of whom moved. "Harry, we want to help you," Luna whispered. "We can't leave you here," said Dean. Go, both of you. We'll see you at Bill and Fleur's. As Harry spoke, his scar burned worse than ever, and for a few seconds he looked down, not upon the wand-maker, but on another man who was just as old, just as thin, but laughing scornfully. Kill me then, Voldemort. I welcome death, but my death will not bring you what you seek. There is so much you do not understand. He felt Voldemort's fury, but as Hermione screamed again, he shut it out, returning to the cellar and the horror of his own present. Go! Harry beseeched Luna and Dean. Go! We'll follow! Just go! They caught hold of the house of the elf's outstretched fingers. There was another loud crack, and Dobby, Luna, Dean, and Ollivander vanished. What was that? Shouted Lucius Malfoy from over their heads. Did you hear that? What was that noise in the cellar? Harry and Ron stared at each other. Draco! No. Call Wormtail. Make him go and check. Footsteps crossed the room overhead. Then there was silence. Harry knew that the people in the drawing room were listening for more noises from the cellar. We're going to have to try and tackle him, he whispered to Ron. They had no choice. The moment anyone entered the room and saw the absence of 3 prisoners, they were lost. Leave the light on. Leave the lights on, Harry added, and as they heard someone descending the steps outside the door, they backed against the wall on either side of it. Stand back, came Wormtail's voice. Stand away from the door. I am coming in. The door flew open. For a split second, Wormtail gazed into the apparently empty cellar, ablaze with the light from the 3 miniature suns floating in mid-air. Then Harry and Ron launched themselves upon him. Ron seized Wormtail's wand arm and forced it upward. Harry slapped a hand to his mouth, muffling his voice. Silently they struggled. Wormtail's wand emitted sparks. His silver hand closed around Harry's throat. What is it, Wormtail? Called Lucius Malfoy from above. Nothing! Ron yelled back in a passable imitation of Wormtail's wheezy voice. All fine! Harry could barely breathe. You're going to kill me? Harry choked, attempting to prise off the metal fingers. After I saved your life? You owe me, Wormtail! The silver fingers slackened. Harry had not expected it. He wrenched himself free, astonished, keeping his hand over Wormtail's mouth. They saw the rat-like man's small, watery eyes widen with fear and surprise. He seemed just as shocked as Harry at what his hand had done, at the tiny, merciful impulse it had betrayed. And he continued to struggle more powerfully, as though to undo that moment of weakness. And we'll have that, whispered Ron, tugging Wormtail's wand from his other hand. Wandless, helpless, Pettigrew's pupils dilated in terror. His eyes had slid from Harry's face to something else. His own fingers were moving inexorably toward his own throat. No! Without pausing to think, Harry tried to drag back the hand, but there was no stopping it. The silver tool that Voldemort had given his most cowardly servant had turned upon its disarmed and useless owner. Pettigrew was reaping his reward for his hesitation, his moment of pity. He was being strangled before their very eyes. No! Ron had released Wormtail too, and together he and Harry tried to pull the crushing metal fingers from around Wormtail's throat, but it was no use. Pettigrew was turning blue. Relatio! Said Ron, pointing the wand at the silver hand, but nothing happened. Pettigrew dropped to his knees, and at that same moment, Hermione gave a dreadful scream from overhead. Wormtail's eyes rolled upward in his purple face. He gave a last twitch, and was still. Harry and Ron looked at each other, then leaving Wormtail's body on the floor behind them, ran up the stairs and back into the shadowy passageway leading to the drawing room. Cautiously they crept along it until they reached the drawing room door, which was ajar. Now they had a clear view of Bellatrix looking down at Griphook, who was holding Gryffindor's sword in his long-fingered hands. Hermione was lying at Bellatrix's feet. She was barely stirring. Well, Bellatrix said to Griphook, is it the true sword? Harry waited, holding his breath, fighting against the prickling of his scar. No, said Griphook. It is a fake. Are you sure? Panted Bellatrix. Quite sure? Yes, said the goblin. Relief broke across her face, all tension drained from it. Good, she said, and with a casual flick of her wand she slashed another deep cut into the goblin's face, and he dropped with a yell at her feet. She kicked him aside. And now, she said in a voice that burst with triumph, we call the Dark Lord. And she pushed back her sleeve and touched her forefinger to the dark mark.
Uh-oh.
At once, Harry's scar felt as though it had split open again. His true surroundings vanished. He was Voldemort, and the skeletal wizard before him was laughing toothlessly at him. He was enraged at the summons he felt. He had warned them. He had told them to summon him for nothing less than Potter. If they were mistaken... Kill me then, demanded the old man. You will not win. You cannot win. The wand will never, ever be yours. And Voldemort's fury broke. A burst of green light filled the prison room, and the frail old body was lifted from its hard bed and then fell back, lifeless, and Voldemort returned to the window, his wrath barely controllable. They would suffer his retribution if they had no good reason for calling him back. And I think, said Bellatrix's voice, we can dispose of the mudblood. Greyback, take her if you want her. No! Ron had burst into the drawing room. Bellatrix looked round, shocked. She turned her wand to face Ron instead. Expelliarmus! He roared, pointing Wormtail's wand at Bellatrix, and hers flew into the air and was caught by Harry, who had sprinted after Ron. Lucius, Narcissa, Draco, and Greyback wheeled about. Harry yelled, "Stupefy!" and Lucius Malfoy collapsed onto the hearth. Jets of light flew from Draco's, Narcissa's, and Greyback's wands. Harry threw himself to the floor, rolling behind a sofa to avoid them. Sleep, or she dies! Panting, Harry peered round the edge of the sofa. Bellatrix was supporting Hermione, who seemed to be unconscious, and was holding her short silver knife to Hermione's throat. Drop your wands, she whispered. Drop them, or we'll see exactly how filthy her blood is. Ron stood rigid, clutching Wormtail's wand. Harry straightened up, still holding Bellatrix's. I said drop them, she screeched, pressing the blade into Hermione's throat. Harry saw beads of blood appear there. All right, he shouted, and he dropped Bellatrix's wand onto the floor at his feet. Ron did the same with Wormtail's. Both raised their hands to shoulder height. Good, she leered. Draco, pick them up. The Dark Lord is coming, Harry Potter. Your death approaches. Harry knew it. His scar was bursting with the pain of it, and he could feel Voldemort flying through the sky from far away, over a dark and stormy sea, and soon he would be close enough to apparate to them, and Harry could see no way out. Now, said Bellatrix softly, as Draco hurried back to her with the wands. Sissy, I think we ought to tie up these little heroes again while Greyback takes care of Miss Mudblood. I am sure the Dark Lord will not begrudge you the girl, Greyback, after what you've done tonight. At the last word there was a particular grinding noise from above. All of them looked upward in time to see the crystal chandelier tremble. Then, with a creak and an ominous jingling, it began to fall. Bellatrix was directly beneath it. Dropping Hermione, she threw herself aside with a scream. The chandelier crashed to the floor in an explosion of crystal and chains, falling on top of Hermione and the goblin, who still clutched the sword of Gryffindor. Glittering shards of crystal flew in all directions. Draco doubled over, his hands covering his bloody face. As Ron ran to pull Hermione out of the wreckage, Harry took his chance. He leapt over an armchair and wrestled the three wands from Draco's grip, pointed all of them at Greyback and yelled, "Stupefy!" The werewolf was lifted off his feet by the triple spell, flew up to the ceiling, and then smashed to the ground. As Narcissa dragged Draco out of the way of further harm, Bellatrix sprang to her feet, her hair flying as she brandished the silver knife, but Narcissa had directed her wand at the doorway. "Dobby!" she screamed, and even Bellatrix froze. You dropped the chandelier?" The tiny elf trotted into the room, his shaking finger pointing at his old mistress. You must not hurt Harry Potter, he squeaked. Kill him, sissy, shrieked Bellatrix. But there was another loud crack, and Narcissa's wand too flew into the air and landed on the other side of the room. You dirty little monkey, bawled Bellatrix. How dare you take a witch's wand? How dare you defy your masters? Dobby has no master, squealed the elf. Dobby is a free elf, and Dobby has come to save Harry Potter and his friends. Harry's scar was blinding him with pain. Dimly he knew that he had seconds before Voldemort was with them. Ron, catch! And go! He yelled, throwing one of the wands to him. Then he bent down to tug Griphook out from under the chandelier. Hoisting the groaning goblin, who still clung to the sword, over one shoulder, Harry seized Dobby's hand and spun on the spot to disapparate. As he turned into darkness, he caught one last view of the drawing room, of the pale, frozen figures of Narcissa and Draco, of the streak of red that was Ron's hair, and a blur of flying silver as Bellatrix's knife flew across the room at the place where he was vanishing. Bill and Fleur's. Shell Cottage. Bill and Fleur's. He had disappeared into the unknown. All he could do was repeat the name of the destination and hope that it would suffice to take him there. The pain in his forehead pierced him, and the weight of the goblin bore down on him. He could feel the blade of Gryffindor's sword bumping against his back. Dobby's hand jerked in his. He wondered whether the elf was trying to take charge, to pull them in the right direction, and tried, by squeezing the fingers, to indicate that was fine with him. And then they hit solid earth and smelled salty air. Harry fell to his knees, relinquishing Dobby's hand, and attempted to lower Griphook gently to the ground. "Are you all right?" he said as the goblin stirred, but Griphook merely whimpered. Harry squinted round through the darkness. There seemed to be a cottage a short way under the wide starry sky, and he thought he saw movement outside of it. "Dobby, is this Shell Cottage?" he whispered, clutching the two wands he had brought from the Malfoys, ready to fight if he needed to. "Have we come to the right place? Dobby?" He looked around. The little elf stood feet from him. "Dobby!" The elf swayed slightly, stars reflected in his white, shining eyes. Together he and Harry looked down at the silver hilt of the knife protruding from the elf's heaving chest. "Dobby, no! Help!" Harry bellowed toward the cottage, toward the people moving there. "Help!" He did not know or care whether they were wizards or muggles, friends or foes. All he cared about was that a dark stain was spreading across Dobby's front, and that he had stretched out his thin arms to Harry with a look of supplication. Harry caught him and laid him sideways on the cool grass. "Dobby, no, don't die. Don't die." The elf's eyes found him, and his lips trembled with the effort to form words. "Harry Potter." And then, with a little shudder, the elf became quite still, and his eyes were nothing more than the great glassy orbs, sprinkled with the light from the stars, that they could not see.
There it is, the saddest chapter in the book.
It's pretty awful.
Why can't the text change, right? Why can't it just be different?
Why can't I read it without crying no matter how
Because
many
it's
times?
sad.
Yeah.
That's why.
Oh,
Moment of silence for Dobby. Let's see. Do we miss any? Says a lot that Wormtail's a better rat than human, right? He went from being a human that sometimes turns into a rat to a rat that sometimes acts like a human.
mm-hmm.
Wormtail.
That, I think, is a small demonstration of how there is a little bit of redemption moment for every single character in this story, except for Voldemort and Bellatrix. whether or not you think it redeems him, it is a redemptive moment.
Oh
He
yeah,
hesitates.
hesitation
The hesitation there.
is enough for Voldemort to kill him.
Yep.
Should have just chopped the arm off.
Other hand, Wormtail. Baldy, you sicko.
Should have just taken the rusty nail.
Chisel it off.
178 hours or 175 hours, whatever that movie
is.
was. That's off his hand. With what, pocket knife or something.
It was an arm. I think he cut off an arm.
Either way. Hurts. Ow.
Yeah. Great Ron chapter as well. He's going to get his woman. He don't give an F. Hermione.
Being a bit of an idiot about how he's going about it, but
he can't think straight. He's just.
I mean, I guess you got Gray back there, you know.
Giving off big time pedophile, predator, sexual predator vibes, like throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
So gross.
Really,
so gross. I like, ugh.
Really looking at Hermione like a piece of meat, just like, you gonna finish that, Bellatrix?
Yeah, he is. That is exactly what he's doing. He's like, the softness of the skin. I want to bite it. Like, ugh. He's so gross. He's so gross.
But you know, he's not a werewolf. Who knows when the next full moon is? So, do you think he would like, you know, lock her up?
Keep her for a while?
Yeah,
probably.
Like some Buffalo Bill vibes.
Yeah.
Puts the lotion on the skin. Wait, would Wormtail have a silver paw when he changed?
No.
It made it harder to make him unable to change to the rat form.
So, Dan, Hermione's birthday is in September. Ron's birthday is in March. Just for clarification.
Oh no.
So she's actually older than everyone else.
But okay, so yeah, if Wormtail changed into his rat form, would he have a silver paw? Or would he just have no foot? And only appears when he's in human form?
That's a good question.
Do we ever see him change to a rat after
No.
he gets it? Oh.
No, we never see him change.
Even Rowling didn't know how it would work, so she was just like, he's just not going to change.
Doesn't have to anymore. Doesn't have to hide anymore.
Yeah, but you know, becoming a rat can be handy.
I'm not sure. I mean, it's I don't know if it would interfere with the animagus magic or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's a question. What do you think would be Voldemort's animagus? What would he change into? You think it would just be Snake?
Probably a snake.
Based on his, like, personality. Because your animagus form seems to be very based on, like, your personality.
Yeah,
you know, Sirius is a dog, very loyal. Wormtail is a rat, self-explanatory. Prongs, proud, majestic.
Proud, majestic. Not if some of the deer I've seen. I don't know. The deer on Tuesday were being absolute idiots, but well, actually, that kind of fits.
Yeah, I mean, Snake is the obvious choice, but I feel like Snake I don't think it like fits his personality.
You don't think
You know,
so?
he's very
cold, calculating, unfeeling, solitary. Patiently waits and waits and waits.
I guess maybe a little bit. But he talks too much. I don't know. I was just curious if you had
I'd have
any
to,
other ideas.
I don't know. I have to
I
think
just
about
feel
it.
like the snake is
I
the
know
obvious choice.
Snake
'cause
is the obvious
like a
choice,
snake.
but he so much identifies with being the heir of Slytherin, it consumes a lot of his personality, his ancestry, and all that. I don't know. I have to think about it. I have to think about it more.
Maybe a Komodo dragon.
Maybe.
You know, kind of even what he doesn't kill, he kind of poisons what he gets into.
That's true.
I don't know. Just
One of those parasites that turns into the fish's tongue. Oh my. What kind of
I
snake is the question? Yeah, that's true. 'Cause there are different, yeah, so many different kinds.
yeah. What type of snake?
Not a yorm,
Think maybe a anaconda. Or do
maybe.
you think he's more? You think he's more of a constrictor type? You know, slowly brushing and closing in
Squeezing it
on
away.
his prey, or you think he's like venomous? King Cobra, King Voldy. I know Dingini has like the best of both worlds. He's a constrictor with venom,
I
but
know this makes no sense. Um, or black mamba, kind of a thing.
black mambas don't mess around. They're not gonna stop and talk with you. They're like, I'm gonna go 20 miles an hour, come up and bite you.
Yeah, that's true. Black mambas do not fuck around.
I don't care if you're leaving me alone now. I'm not gonna leave you alone.
I'm gonna get you. Um, God, there's so many. There's so many kinds. Um, um, some kind of large python, anaconda. Not a garden snake. Either a
Fructose.
biting or a crushing snake.
He's a fungi.
He's a fungi.
The Last of Us, based off of Voldemort,
Oh my god.
just spreads everywhere.
I mean, he does. His ideology does spread like a poison.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have to think about this. There's so many different kinds.
You know more snakes than me.
I know.
I
There's
know.
anacondas,
Basically.
blood pythons, reticulated pythons, rock pythons, Burmese.
So you're going with python.
boas,
You're going with constrictors.
tree pythons. Well, and then there's venomous snakes. There's rattlesnakes. There's gaboon vipers. There's
Boomslang.
the boomslang, black mamba, green mamba,
I
cobras,
don't think it'd be a rattlesnake.
coral snakes.
Rattlesnakes are bros.
Rattlesnakes are bros.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. They let you know.
You walk up on a rattlesnake, they start
Yeah.
shaking like, hey, I'm here. Don't walk towards me. You take 5 steps to the left, you're fine. Leaves you alone.
Gaboon vipers have the largest fangs in proportion to their head of any venomous snake, and there's really no helping you once you get bit by it. You're losing a limb guaranteed at the very least.
Sounds like they're overcompensating.
They
Kind of sounds like Voldemort, actually.
They-
So, yeah.
They chunky BBs. Look them up. They chunky BBs.
Cobra. Not a fan of rattlesnakes. I don't blame you.
Look them up. Gaboon viper.
Is there some type of cuckoo type snake? Is there some snake that, just sits around and looks at you for 20 minutes while you walk away?
I feel like that's Yorm.
Yeah, that's it.
But Yorm is a nice man. He a baby. Look up Gaboon viper. Just
Rattlesnake rattling instead of a monologue. I mean, maybe, yeah. Like his monologue is just his rattle.
this has nothing to do with it. Look up the site
That's
so they can see it.
what?
Show the people the Gaboon viper.
You're closer to the keyboard. You type it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe rattlesnakes aren't giving you a chance to get away. They're just monologuing in their snake language.
Could be.
Wait, yeah,
Oh,
get back.
I remember Dan telling us he got bitten by one like
Yeah.
a while ago. That must have not been a good time.
Yeah, I don't blame Dan for not liking
Yeah, he has
rattlesnakes.
personal reasons not to like them. I understand it. Look them. Look them chunky BBs. Look at that one.
What, that one?
Over one more. That one. Look at the. Look how thick.
That's a fat man.
This is chunky BB.
What was the python you wanted to get that was like a super... It looked like that, but it wasn't venomous.
Blood python. That's a blood python. They cute.
Yeah, these guys.
Look that.
Um,
They thick.
like the cuckoo babies trick the parents of another species.
Not that I know of. I don't think there's another snake that did that.
Really wish you had boosts.
Mm.
Sorry, Dan.
We'll go away now.
Yeah, Voldy is a parasite at this point. Nagini is a parasite too. I mean, she like took over Hilda Bagshot.
She did. She lived in there for a while.
Yeah.
Good thing snakes don't need to eat very often. She's at a size. Nagini's at a size where she probably only needs to eat a couple times a year.
Wow, we're getting really zoological up
I'm
in
just
here, breaking
saying,
it down. Well,
yep.
Nagini would actually need to eat a couple times a year, so
Well, I mean,
Hilda Bagshot would have kept her going until July 4th.
Yeah, well, especially since
or whatever summer holidays the UK has.
she had already eaten Charity Burbage. That kept her going for a hot minute. I bet she couldn't move for at least a week after that.
Hey, you should break it down. That's the thing Rolling messed up on. Actually, she ate Charity Burbage and then she attacked this person a week later. It's not possible. She would have been too full. Checkmate, Rolling.
I mean, that's a lot of food.
Yeah.
It's a lot of food. I mean, so what is it? It is July when she eats Charity Burbage. And then...
Oh, I remember that Simpsons episode too.
July 4th or whatever summertime holidays the UK has. That, like, jeez. And then they make it to Batilda around Christmas time. And Batilda had been, I mean, she'd been dead for a while. When did Nagini, like, Nagini didn't consume all of her, obviously, because she was a puppet, pretty much. Were her bones still in there? Her bones had to still be in there for Nagini to, like, move her around.
I don't know.
So maybe Nagini only ate, like, her internal organs?
How did we go from talking about how sad Dobby's death was to...
We're avoiding talking about it because it's too sad.
We'll talk about Batilda Bagshot's corpse and how it was animated before we talk about Dobby's death.
So the question becomes then, when did Nagini possess Batilda Bagshot?
No, we were figuring out what Voldemort's animagus was.
I know, but now I'm on this idea.
Oh.
Had to be, I mean, she stank, so she was dead at least a week. So Nagini could very well have even eaten...
Voldemort's a tapeworm. That's what he is.
Maybe 2 weeks prior. You bet you could stink up a house 2 weeks, a corpse. It's within 2 weeks. Would probably get pretty smelly. Maybe a month prior. Maybe a month. If she eats charity burbage, give it at least a week or two to digest that. Poop that out. Oh my god, the poop. Who has to clean Nagini's poop?
No one. It's magic.
Just boop. Yeah, probably. Unless Voldemort feels like punishing somebody.
Lucius had to probably.
Yeah, actually.
Can't
Yeah.
you just make it disappear? I don't feel like it. Just use your wand, Lucius.
Use your what? Oh, wait.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. God, that's got to be some rank poop.
Here, Lucius, I got you some flex tape. Should fix it right up.
Anyway, we didn't really discuss the chapter at all, other than it's very sad. It's very sad. There's a lot that happens.
There is. And we get to see how they really think of goblins. Griphook's down here helping them, doing what they asked, and Bellatrix still slashes his face.
Yeah, she doesn't give an F. She don't care. Yeah, I feel like Lucius or Wormtail would be doing the snake poop.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he did prep on Halloween. Maybe he went to Godric's Hollow on Halloween and got the whole Nagini thing set up.
Now I'm just picturing, like, Voldemort as Jack Skellington, just, this is Halloween, this is Halloween. Like, doing all the presents and stuff.
Won't they be impressed? I am a genius. See how I've turned this old bag into the most delightful hag.
Oh man, someone needs to do that. We need a Harry Potter musical version of that.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
And the person singing the song about the bag, it would just be them stuffing Nagini inside of Bagshot's corpse.
Yeah. Jack Riddle.
Snakes and spiders wrapped up so nice with spider webs and pretty bows.
Well, I guess Bellatrix would be Sally then. But no, Sally's too sane. Can be.
Oh, there's an empty place in my soul, a longing that I've never known.
The real question is, if Voldemort's like our star, who would Oogie Boogie be?
Harry.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Harry.
Maybe, yeah, telling it from his point of view. You guys heard any more news about the Potter series? Really haven't, no.
No. We did.
I'm assuming they're just kind of like casting and working everything out now, and as soon as they get it all cast and everything, we're probably going to get like a whole month of updates.
Probably.
And then we won't hear much until they're about to release it, yeah.
So, could Fenrir Greyback be Oogie Boogie? Ew. Yeah, I guess.
My bugs.
My bugs. Ew. So Bellatrix relishing the torture of Hermione. So in my discussion regarding Voldemort, it has nothing to do with the chapter whatsoever of the cave, but I thought I would put it in the discussion anyway because we're doing an examination of Voldemort. So Bellatrix very much reminds me of Ian Brady and Myra Hindley and Charles Parker Ray and Cindy Hindi. Does anyone know who any of them are?
No, but whoever named their daughter Cindy Hindi had a sense of humor.
So
Or at
I-
least thought someone was going to write a song about her someday.
Ian Brady and Myra Hindley were a couple in the UK. They raped, tortured, and murdered children and buried them across the moors in the UK. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. And Charles Parker Ray was a guy. Uh, Cindy Hendy was his girlfriend, and together they raped and tortured women in a makeshift trailer that he called the Toy Box
Ew.
in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Okay, what's the point of this story? Because I'm grossed out.
The point of the story is you had two individuals, Parker Ray and Brady, who very much had these really sadistic, violent sexual urges. And by all accounts, Myra Hindley and Cindy Hendy were just like normal people who
No,
got,
they weren't. There's nothing normal about what you're telling us.
and then they got swept up in all this craziness with these guys, and they got manipulated and caught up in the awfulness of what these two dudes were doing. And they were girlfriends, but really they were partners in crime and were helping these men satisfy these deviant sexual urges. This is what Bellatrix kind of is to Voldemort. She has been swept up and manipulated into his whole thing, and she follows his orders without question. She commits awful atrocities in his name. It's all to please him and gain the favor, and she doesn't ever get the title of girlfriend whatsoever. Voldemort doesn't need to go that far.
How do you know?
But because he doesn't.
No, how do you know Bellatrix wasn't like that? Don't take credit away from her, all right? She's her own woman. She was a psychopath before she met Voldemort. I really don't know if she was.
Well, obviously,
How dare you
if
belittle her
you're
accomplishments?
if you're willing to commit these acts, there obviously is something going on with you that you're like, yeah, I'm down to do this. And after
Maybe she taught Voldemort a thing or two.
after Cindy Hendy was arrested and tried and like sentenced, she was interviewed, and she expresses like resentment and anger over the fact that she's now there because of what he did, and talks about how she got like caught up in his bullshit pretty much. And I think that there's a similarity there. You could look at these like duo killers of these incredibly violent dudes who rape and torture people and have a female accomplice who basically like helps them. And it's kind of the same dynamic. Ian Brady was very into Nazism and white supremacy. Obviously, Voldemort's whole pureblood thing is analogous to that. And like Myra Hindley thought like they were going to get married and have kids and have a normal life. And he was just like, wait, we have to rape and kill one more kid first, and then we'll have a normal life. And she was like, okay, I guess.
Okay.
Your interest in this explains a bit how you saw the cave as so sexual. How can you not see it that way? But that
Because we didn't research serial killers.
I'm just saying, I think it's something I could discuss in my presentation to just elaborate a little bit on Voldemort's relationship with Bellatrix, paralleling these relationships that these individuals have with their partners. These are sexually violent perpetrators who have partners who are also participants in the naughtiness, in the badness. Whereas you have someone who, like Ted Bundy, his girlfriends never participated. They didn't know. They were pretty oblivious. But then you have someone, say, like Charles Parker Ray, who's got a girlfriend who's like, all right, put her in the gyno chair, chain her up, and let's get going. And she was like, okay.
Do we need a character breakdown of Greyback like we had for Snape? No. Nah. No, we don't.
No.
We're good on that. He's yucky. Broken down.
That's kind of what I was saying. Like, I would like to put it in there if I have the room. If I'm running short on time, I could expand on that a little bit. Thought I would put it in there. That's all I was saying. So thanks, Melody.
So, do we have anything else to talk about this chapter? We went on a big tangent with serial killers. Voldy had a place of soul in Nagini.
He had a piece
Or
of
a
soul
piece-
in
I
Nagini.
read
She
that wrong.
eats people. Voldy is, in a way, eating people. Maybe you've gone into it before, but on another level. I don't think cannibalism is how you make a Horcrux. We've definitely gone into...
No, he was just saying like a piece of Voldy is eating.
Oh, Charity Burbage.
Yeah.
I actually don't think Voldemort would like that idea.
No, you don't think
No.
Voldemort ever ate a person?
No,
Just try it.
it's intimate.
Oh, it isn't?
Yes, it is. Cannibalism is a very intimate act. That's why Jeffrey Dahmer ate people.
Doesn't have to be.
It is to a degree. Like, there's the cannibalism symbolically is an intimate act because in ingesting another human being, you are taking them into you, and now you are connected forever because you've consumed them.
Not connected forever. Only at most 7 years.
I'm saying that's why people do it, though.
There you go. Another 7.
Meh.
Your body's cells replenish every 7 years to a new person.
I'm just saying I don't think Voldemort would like the idea of that kind of connection.
Yeah, I don't know. Right? She knows too much about how to hide a body.
Listen, we might have to someday. You never know.
What?
What if the apocalypse comes? What if we have to?
If the apocalypse comes, I don't think it'll matter if we're hiding the body. If it gets to that point where it's kill or be killed, who's actually hiding the bodies?
We actually might not have to hide the bodies. We might have to display them out front to keep people away.
Jesus.
That's a good point.
You all right? Doing good?
We might have to put them out and say, look, this is what you get.
I might have to like make a post in case you guys don't see me in the next stream. Check this place, and this place.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, I think you thought this out way too much.
Maybe you guys had too long of a break, or not long enough. No, I think we're fine. Why can't we talk about murder without all of a sudden assumptions being made?
I don't know.
Anyway. I got nothing
Maybe
else.
because
I
it's
don't know.
weird.
Midnight Sun. Edward swallows one of Bella's tears as a part of him. Ew. See, now that's gross. That's cringy.
Yes, now you'll be a part of me.
That's cringy. Everything about Twilight is cringy. Ugh.
I don't even know what to say to that.
It is.
I don't know. I refrain from commenting on Twilight because never read it, never watched it, and I probably won't. So
Bellatrix does
I don't
like
feel
to
like
play
I
with
have
her
a
food.
place to say anything about it. So gross. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. As you can tell, I'm not a big Twilight person. So
There was another.
y'all talk about
Was it
real
not?
life rape and murder of kids, but think Twilight is too gross.
First off, she talks about it. I don't. No.
I didn't.
I am a victim just as much as you guys. I do not want to hear this, but I have to. He's like, ooh, guess what? I just watched this Ted Bundy documentary. You want to know what he did? Oh, I just read this article about this one person who did this to this person. You know how they did it? No. Okay, well, let me tell you. No, stop. I don't want to know.
So interesting.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. Listen, this is about.
What?
This is only in context of the thing I'm writing. This is all.
Right.
And the only reason I brought up Ian Brady and Myra Hindley is because it pertains to the Bellatrix Voldemort relationship.
I guess it'll make more sense once you present your whole thing. Whatever it is, cave breakdown,
Yeah.
mind of Voldemort.
Yeah. It'll make sense.
Murder in order to write great mysteries. I mean, yeah, that's true. I'm not saying she doesn't have to. I'm just saying I don't want to know. I don't need to know every detail. I'm not writing anything that pertains to murder or any of those deviant acts. I don't need to know it.
Ow.
It's forced upon me.
It's forced upon me. Anyway.
All right, so is that about it?
Yeah, I suppose. I don't have anything else.
All right. Well,
Now that you've made me look like the bad guy.
I didn't mean to make you.
Yeah,
Okay.
now you're painting me out to be some weirdo.
No.
Dobby, Malfoy Manor. Great chapter. Great chapter. Very sad.
Maybe a good
Cried
note,
every
Dad.
time. So glad we did not get off topic and totally discuss the finer points of the chapter. Rather than go off onto tangents about snake poop and animagi.
I thought the Animagi was actually a good conversation.
It was interesting.
But yeah, like I said, I think Voldemort definitely would have succeeded if he just didn't talk so much and had some competent people.
There's one more thing. Dobby makes his declaration of freedom and then he gets killed. Declaring your freedom can be dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Dobby wanted to be free, so Bellatrix helped him out and freed him from the shackles of
Life.
mortal life.
Oof. Ooh, brutal. Jeez. Dark take, okay. Ouch.
Look, we already cried. It's a sad chapter. How can you get much sadder?
You can't. But that is a really good point, Melanie.
Dobby promised to never save Harry. He broke that promise. Fucking Dobby. Dobby, what the heck?
He rescued him. He didn't save him. He rescued him.
Same thing.
Oh. I'm just saying.
Saying.
Either way. It's also just, I'm going to note that this is the moment where the tide completely turns for Harry in favor of Voldemort. Voldemort kills Grindelwald in this chapter, and learning that he doesn't have the Elder Wand and will never possess it. And in this chapter is also the moment where Harry wins the Elder Wand because he takes Draco's wand.
Yeah.
So, there's that. So that's a cool moment. Once you go back and you reread it, you realize this is the moment where Voldemort doesn't get the wand.
And Harry just got the unbeatable wand.
Yep, and Harry just won it.
Yep.
In both within the span of like 5 minutes.
Voldemort has already lost. He just doesn't know it yet.
Yep, it's right there. It's pretty great.
These tiny monkeys that pair bond and hold each other's tails. I've heard of these. What are they called?
I don't know.
You haven't heard of them? Oh. They don't recognize themselves in the mirror, but recognize their partner and get jealous. That's interesting.
That's very cute. I'm not sure what that is or what they are. I'll have to look them up because that's cute. Oh my goodness, itchy. So itchy.
Grindelwald says he never had it, yet the big budget fanfic makes it look like he did. Guessing you're referring to the movies?
Gotta be, yeah.
I mean, Grindelwald did have it at one point.
He stole it.
Dumbledore
won it.
Yeah. Tiki monkeys? I mean, that's a cute name.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, I agree. We need some more cute stuff after all that.
Darkness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on the topic of animals, I mean, found out that birds, when like a parrot or a bird starts to mimic you, it's a sign of affection. They're trying to mimic you and create a bond and grow closer to you. Grindelwald lied. He stole it from Grigorovich. Then Dumbledore won it from Grindelwald in 1945. Yeah. Now, see, he stole it from Grigorovich. So was he ever the true master, though? If he just stole it. Need Pigwidgeon, yes. I mean, oh man. Actually, birds aren't a good Rip Hedwig. All right.
Yeah, I think it's time.
You good? We ending it there?
Yeah, I think so. Because I
All
gotta
right.
eat. I gotta eat and do some things before I go to bed. So.
Okay.
All
So
right.
yeah.
It was good to see everybody again. It's been nice.
Yep. We won't be gone for another month before we do a live stream.
Nope.
So we'll be back.
We will be back. Let us know. Let us know if you have any ideas for future streams, if there's something you would like us to discuss or read or do. Leave it in the comments.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Yes.
Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.